Appreciate it.
Good afternoon. Excited about the challenge this week to face what is looking like a very explosive offense. Um, Excited to really test and evaluate and install what we've been working on since day one. The guys have done an incredible job of being focused, of applying themselves not only in the classroom but outside during the live practice, and just really fired up about what they're going to do when we get out on the field. We respect this opponent. We realize that it's a new staff, but they have some outstanding offensive personnel that we're going to have to do a great job to control, to defend, and to try and gain an advantage against. So it'll be a great challenge for us opening at home in front of our fans, and they're going to give us a tremendous assist. And so just looking forward to everything. With that, I'll take your questions.
Eric, over time, what have you learned about the way Brian Callahan pushes the buttons for offenses and things that you have to be aware of with him?
Well, I realize that he's a product of the Bengal system, and some of the things that they'll present, it will be a lot of things as far as what we're seeing pre-snap as opposed to what happens when the ball is actually snapped. We have to be really, we have to be ready for tempo changes. We have to be ready for various personnel groupings and just different things that could happen outside of what you normally would see on first and second down.
How far back do you have to go when somebody is a first-time play caller to understand like what those tendencies are? I know you mentioned he comes from the Cincinnati system, but is there like what film would be relevant, I guess, as you're going through your process of knowing how to combat that?
Well, you do your due diligence against the play caller's background, and you also you have to look at all of the members of the staff and what they would likely to contribute, and what their backgrounds and fingerprints have been in terms of what they've majored in at the places that they have coached. And so, we'll look at as much as we need to. Some of this is projection. There's no guarantee that this coach will Xerox what they did in Cincinnati and present that to us. He'll have his own, idea and spin on what he's done, and our focus will continue to be on us. We have rules. We have a process that we feel like will line up and present itself to whoever we're playing against. So,
How do you feel like you've impacted the defensive line since you arrived, and what do you expect from that group rushing the quarterback on Sunday?
well, the defensive line they've done a tremendous job. They've worked their tails off. It's one of the hardest working groups that I've ever been associated with, and the coaches have done a phenomenal job of identifying areas that we needed to grow in individually and collectively, and just making sure that we can be the consistent force that we believe exists within that particular group. And so they've worked hard. My responsibility was to come in and just to make sure that I knew exactly what our plan consisted of, and that I inserted some of the things as far as what I see into that process, and just try and help the overall effort.
What do you see on tape? What do you see on tape from Will Levis, and how important is it to generate consistent pressure on him throughout the day?
Strong arm, tremendous athlete. We can't afford to have him extend plays. We just can't afford to. We can't afford to do a great job as far as our coverage is concerned and allow him to extend plays with his athleticism. So we have to do a good job of making sure that he has one option. He's a one-look quarterback, and he has to get rid of the ball on time.
Coach, with Montez Sweat, how do you balance putting him where maybe he's most comfortable versus maybe where the defense needs him to go up and down the line?
Well, we have to put him in we have to put him in a position where we can anticipate the best production, the greatest production quotient from him. And at the same time, we'd like to challenge or utilize his ability to align in multiple places and to challenge the different the individual protection pieces and what they're doing overall. So we don't want to come up with ideas that take away from what we know he can give us as a left defensive end.
Your prep for Tennessee, and you guys are game planning and looking and reviewing. Who are some of the individuals on Tennessee's team that have stood out? And I get that this is a relatively new configuration.
They've invested heavily in the offensive line. I mean, you start there. through draft picks and free agency, that particular group, and for a reason. They've got a young quarterback that has a lot of talent, and they have to give him a chance, not only from a protection standpoint, but also being able to run the ball to complement this quarterback. Uh, DeAndre Hopkins, you can start there. I mean, this is a person that, everywhere that he's been, he's impacted games to the detriment of the defense. So we have to make sure that we understand what he can bring, what he brings to the table, and we have to do a good job of making sure that we stay in front of him.
Just an extension of that question, with the defensive line, how do you go in with a plan on how to use a rotation and then also be open-minded enough to be fluid depending on how the game's playing out and how guys are producing?
Well, the reason that we dress the number of defensive linemen that we do is to make sure that we can present an explosive group, especially in critical situations. Now, on first and second down, we have to make sure that we stake our defense. We want to be 2nd and 10. We don't want to be 2nd and 1. And so Travis will do a great job of managing that process and just making sure that we understand, the first line of rushers, what we need to do on first and second down with respect to that, and just make sure that guys are fresh and explosive when we absolutely need them.
Eric, with
the Titans added Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd, totally revamping that wide receiver room. When you look at adding them to DeAndre Hopkins, when you look at that room as a whole, what kind of challenges do they present to you?
Well, they're all number one targets. I mean, they are number one targets, and so at any point, one of those guys can be targeted, and they can catch the ball, and their run after catch ability can really present problems for you. And so, there's not. I mentioned DeAndre, but you have to make sure that as a group, that from a man concept, a zone concept, and whatever we desire to do, that we keep those particular guys in front of us, and we do a great job of forcing the quarterback to throw off schedule.
Eric, you've had time now to get a beat on what your defense can be, but what are you most interested in learning about them in 60 minutes on Sunday that you haven't been able to learn yet?
I'm interested in watching them perform and watching, I guess, all of the work and all of the investment come to fruition. I have a lot of confidence in the character that I've observed and the work ethic that I've observed and the professionalism that I've observed. I'm just excited about watching that, present itself in front of us and our fans, and I'm very confident going into this game.
Do you get a sense for how aggressive Matt will be willing to be, perhaps more aggressive than he's been in the previous couple seasons, as you guys kind of look ahead, not necessarily this week, but across the season as a whole? I know that's a week-to-week thing with matchups and.
Yeah, and for obvious reasons, I won't telegraph. I mean, Matt's intentions as a play caller with respect to what we're doing. I just know that, in terms of what we're looking to see, we want to play fast. We want to be violent. And if we pressure, that needs to hit. And if we don't, it needs to feel like pressure.
With a rookie left tackle who is like a highly touted prospect coming out, but he's still a rookie making his first start, how do you approach that? How do you attack that?
I don't involve myself in how long a player has been in the NFL. If they're out there, there's a reason that they're out there, especially in a starting role. It's a great question. I'm expecting that player to perform like an All-Pro, and that's the mindset that we have.
What did you learn about, we go back to that Bengals game and seeing how many times you guys drew up the corner blitz, for being able to simulate pressures that might not just come from the standard pass rush. What did you learn about the capabilities of this defense and the personnel and being able to get after the quarterback that way?
Well, we like the results that we got during the preseason, and when we dial up a pressure, when we have one that could come from anywhere, we need that pressure to be impactful. We needed to generate the kind of reaction that we got in the preseason, to speed up the quarterback, to get our hands on him, to force errant throws, all of those types of things. And we've got some guys away from the defensive line that can absolutely rush the quarterback and make an impact when we call their number.
The defense tied for the NFL lead with 22 interceptions last year. How confident are you that similar things can happen this year?
Very confident, and just, having been around now throughout the offseason and the preseason, we were able to get our hands on the ball, and we scored a couple of times, And I think that speaks to the mentality that we have as a defense. And we've got tremendous personnel, but also we have tremendous professionals that understand exactly how to put yourself in a position via the call and the situation to make plays like the ones that we've made and like we saw in the preseason.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
All right, here we go. Regular season, first game tonight, right? And the other teams are in Brazil getting ready to play, so it's officially here. I think we got our last little break there. It was kind of nice. Really get an appreciation for the history and the prestige of the Chicago Bears with the McCaskey family. Had a chance to go to a Pearl Jam concert on Saturday night, kind of as our last one, and there's Eddie Vedder up there in a Walter Payton jersey and going into his first, or talking about a training camp where he was able to meet Walter Payton and the impact that had. So it was a good, the calm before the storm, like our coach's last time off. And then you get it there and you think about, one of the most famous bands in the world and the Bears coming up there. So it's a good appreciative moment, and now it's time to get going.
Shane, what benchmarks do you want to see Caleb hit in the first quarter or half of the season? Not statistically, but as evidence that things are starting to click for him and he's able to manage the game.
I think that daily improvement and daily excellence is all we were going to focus on. So each day, whether it's going from, we just finished up our walkthrough, going into practice, I think being where our feet are planted, we're not going to live in the world of, expectations or predictions down the line. Because I think if, hard work pays off, that's our mindset. And so if he keeps improving, keeps working hard, with the players around him and the trust in himself and everyone around him, I think the results will show for themselves.
Have you seen yesterday about not hunting ghosts when it comes to preparing for a Titans team that you have to do some guesswork on? What's your process of aiding that, of making sure that you're trying to dial in on the opponent while understanding that some of it is just going to be kind of out there and vague?
Yeah, I think, like any first game, there is going to be that element of unknown, but that goes both ways, right? So we know if we can execute at a high level, starting with our fundamentals and our basics, play in and play out, that's going to give us our best chance. We know Denard Wilson and the history that he's been around, the different teams that he's been on, obviously most recently with Baltimore, have presented a lot of challenges to opposing offenses. And so just having an approach where we're playing with clean eyes, playing with clean feet, understanding, we've just been through months of training camp, OTAs, so there is a big inventory of what our base offense is and things that we can rely on. And I think, not making it more than it is, also respecting the hell out of the opponent and getting ready to go play some ball.
How much of your prep work is going back to, I know Denard's mentioned that Greg Williams, but really that Todd Bowles is a big influence on his philosophy. How much of your prep work is going back and, looking at that sort of film to know what sort of blitzes they might throw at you and other looks that Caleb maybe hasn't seen up till this point?
Yeah, I think, with his history in different places, you go back, and again, it goes back to what Caleb had mentioned of not chasing too many ghosts, relying on knowing what the big picture looks like. Again, coming off of a training camp where, we've seen an entire playbook from our defense, and knowing how important it is to settle in early, get a feel for what the flow of the game is going to be like, and again, trust in technique, trust in coaching, and then also playing fast. Knowing there's these different things that can happen. What style is it going to be? We'll find out probably a little afternoon on Sunday what exactly it's going to be. But like I said, that's a two-way street, and we're ready to approach it.
Shane, what's your expectation?
Made elite throws this preseason, because sometimes we characterize it as that.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of the question.
Do you think that Caleb Williams has made some elite?
Some elite. I got you. Yeah. I would consider that throw to Rome pretty elite. So I think he's done a good job with making those throws, and then in practice throws. There's been some stuff there where we know one of his strong points is his arm talent, his ability to spread the ball over the entire field. And so I think from a receiver, tight end, running back standpoint, those guys know each play. We have designated progressions in the read, but knowing that everyone's part of every single play. And I think the guys have done a great job of surrounding Caleb, knowing that there could be a potential for some of these throws to pop up at any point.
Shane, you mentioned you guys have been working on this offense since May. What is your expectation as far as how sharp the execution should be in game one?
Yeah, I think for us, we expect in terms of that to execute at a high level in terms of the operation, avoiding any pre-snap penalties, staying ahead of the chains, playing efficient football, being an efficient running football team, being able to operate at a high level, but mostly, in terms of expectations, like similar to talking about the expectations for Caleb, our expectation as an offense in terms of play style and all that, that starts with hustle, effort, all the intangible things that we know we can control. Give that as starting point for us as an offense, and then let the skills take over from the players.
Caleb taught the personnel when you got here and you're installing that, and you have, if you look at maybe just your first string,
Mhm.
the ability that they had to grasp your offense, grasp the concepts, and retain it early and quickly.
Sure, I think all the players have done a nice job, starting with individual players and groups of players' relationships with their individual position coaches. I think, as a group, I was very impressed with, how we were able to operate, really a full offense and introduce a new quarterback along the way throughout OTAs. I think it's a credit to the coaching staff and what they were able to do. And then being able to talk it through with veterans like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Like, these guys have been great. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, guys that have been at multiple places in different systems. And I think one of the things about growing, as a player or as a coach is that good two-way communication with everything. And so if there was something that we were teaching initially that might have been somewhat, done differently in another place, having a good conversation. And we had those good conversations all throughout the off season, and feel like we're at a good spot now where we were able to bring all that together. Guys had a good understanding of the offense early on, had some things here and there that maybe want to say, this is our 2024 Bears offense, because everyone's done some great things in other places, but what are we going to look like? How are we going to communicate? So that's been fun to put together. And like I said, all the coaches and the players that collaborated on this to get to the point we're at now has been really fun to watch.
When you see Caleb at the podium, he seems so polished.
Mhm.
What have you noticed about, just as you've gotten to know him, as he's embraced this role, and that proves he's ready to be QB1 of the Chicago Bears in the regular season?
I think Caleb's done a nice job of being comfortable in who he is, and I think, leadership starts with the ability to go out there and perform at this level, and also the ability to not go out there and force any sort of leadership on his teammates, especially being a young player in the league. And so I think by him just going out there and being himself, being comfortable in who he is, and the starting point for what other people in the building see around him is how hard he works. So if you're a great person and you work hard, you're naturally going to fit into a leadership role, especially when you're at the quarterback position. So glad everyone around him's embraced him, and I think he's done a good job of naturally falling into that role and not forcing anything.
Internally, Shane, do you have to manage your expectations of Caleb at all? Given all the great that he's done so far, but remembering he is still a rookie making his first start.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing word that shows up on so many questions, right? Expectations, and I think there's external expectations that are totally separate from how the way we operate every single day. And like I said, the expectations for our daily operating is how hard we're working, what we're doing, but there isn't this down the road expectation, right? The expectations is what's walkthrough look like today, what's practice look like this afternoon. And so for us, if you work hard, you prepare the right way, we have great players around this building right here, then you trust the process and the results will happen.
Along those lines, we've heard a lot about the importance of starting fast. But do you need to balance that need to start fast with easing Caleb into his first NFL week?
Yeah, I think the goal of every season is going to be to start fast, right? And we also know there's a balance of starting fast and then the length of the NFL regular season. So team, just because you started fast might give you an advantage, but it also doesn't mean that the season's over right there, right? It's a long season, and so for us, again, it goes back to you can really combine this, the starting fast with the expectations, and these are all outside, the building views. For us, the inside the building views is starting fast. What's that mean for us? It means the first period that we're out there at practice today, starting fast with great energy, great enthusiasm, attacking the day on a Thursday practice where we know we get into some third down stuff there, start to get into that work. We've already had our Wednesday practice. So just that daily approach for daily improvement and daily excellence, I think that takes care of all the, whether you call them expectations or starting fast, finishing strong, all those things, those are all encapsulated in being where your feet are planted.
Topic of
With the
adversity and like
influences that you've had
pre-preparing
in
for
your-
adversity came up yesterday from both Flus and Caleb said that oftentimes the breakdown in communication is like what happens. Like, I mean, we saw in Hard Knocks, the headset went out against the Bengals. Like, what did you learn about him in that moment, about being able to adjust on the fly, and but the both of you, like your communication in that moment when naturally those things are probably gonna happen during games.
Sure, I think throughout the years, every now and then a headset goes out, or for whatever the reasons, and for communication, it all starts with the relationship we've developed as a coaching staff, and between Caleb and the rest of the other players and the coaching staff, so that when moments go off schedule a little bit like that, that verbal communication, we can seamlessly communicate, whether it's from the sideline to him or through other players to him, and the poise that's demonstrated if there are some stuff, or there are things that go off of schedule right there, like the headset. And I think when you have a foundation of communication in terms of building a relationship with people along the way, that just builds that armor for when stuff gets difficult in the course of a game, like that situation that presented itself. There is no panic. We can get through it. Defense, special teams, held their own and did a great job, while we had a little bit of a slow start right there, then able to get right back there, and he's able to lead a touchdown drive after we worked through some of those things early on. So I think, like I said, trusting in relationships, and how we communicate throughout the course of off season to now, and leading into in game where we're out there having fun with it, and whether the moment is a certain situation or it's the first play of the game, staying nice and level the whole time through, and having fun with it.
Shane, when Caleb was,
Almost like, yeah, sorry.
The influences that you've had in your career, do you ever hear yourself saying something in practice or in a meeting and you're like, oh, that sounded actually kind of like Sean or Bill or Pete or whoever?
Sure. Yeah, I can still picture walking out the door in New England. It says manage expectations, so it fits right in here. Ignore the noise, don't believe the hype, speak for yourself. All the things. And then with Sean, like all these unbelievable coaches I've been around, talked about this with other people, of just trying to take and gather information and learn and grow myself, and I think everyone I've been around has been is so good individually, staying true to themselves, and as a teacher or as a coach. And so for me, I've just tried to gather, what are the things that I can use and be part of my process, so that we can, as a group, all be on the same page here in Chicago.
Shane, when Caleb was in college, he literally had to score like 35, 40 points to win a lot of his games. With this defense, he should not have that responsibility. I'm curious if there's a psychology involved with a quarterback like him, that every time he goes out there, he doesn't feel like he's chasing points or trying to keep up, has a little bit of the wind at his back. Is that a factor at all for him when he goes out there at this level?
Yeah, I think for us, for this year, the 2024 Bears, like our goal is to play great complementary football. And so we've talked about, one of the key components to that is not turning the ball over, taking care of the football, and ending each drive with a kick. Our goal is to end every single drive on offense with an extra point. But if that's not the case right there, a field goal or a potential punt is also a positive situation for us, because we have a great special teams unit. We have a great defense right there. So working together with all three phases to go through a game, I think, is important. Something we'll talk about, and every single week, whether it's the factor of the weather, the opponent, all those things. There's a different strategy that might be put to work each week, and so being on the same page. And I think Coach Eberflus does a great job of connecting us as a team with the weekly approach there on what it takes to get it done each and every single week.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Jane.
Good afternoon. How is everyone?
How are you?
I'm phenomenal, as always. Really excited to get going. A lot of time and effort, obviously, has been put into the off season and, preparing for this moment. So just thrilled for the players, coaches, support staff, and really the entire organization as we get going. So with that, we can open it up to questions.
Richard, you guys list DeAndre and Velas at both kick return and punt returner. As you're making your final determinations of who's gonna be the guy at each spot, what are the factors that you're looking at?
For a punt returner or a kick returner? Yeah. So for a punt returner, obviously we're looking for someone who can take care of the football, somebody that's fearless, and somebody that can get us explosive plays. And then really it's the same for kick return. So yeah, we list both of them because any one of them could be back there at any time. So
Do you plan on interchanging them throughout the year, or do you wanna have a guy?
yeah, I plan on keeping my cards close to the vest, honestly. But yeah, Valus is kick returner and DeAndre is a punt returner. So, and we got several other options we can use.
What did DeAndre show you in the preseason to help him like solidify that job and make the 53?
Just the fact that he has experience doing it, and then really what he did in practice. He worked his tail off in practice, and he earned that job. So he'll be there going forward. As you see all the other guys we have out there working that are available that could do it if we need them. If they have a helmet on, y'all know that they could be out there. So all the other options are the ones you already know, like Blackwell, Rome, DJ, Tyreek Stevenson, all those guys down the line. But DeAndre will be out there first.
Was that the hardest for you as a coach? Was that the hardest one, or did that one go down to the wire, like the punt returner job this year, as you guys were getting 53 together, knowing the options that you had?
Yeah, they all go down to the wire. I mean, I think we do a good job of trying to evaluate everyone fairly and giving everybody a chance to compete, and that one definitely went down to the wire for sure.
I know you said you didn't watch it, but on Hard Knocks they showed you kind of extolling the virtues of Valus and what he could do. What is special about him? What have you seen from him, and what do you expect from him this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen. First of all, I always thought that the kid was uber talented, like super talented, uber talented. Um, so really that big and that fast, and then now he's gaining a tremendous amount of confidence because he's making a lot more plays now, and obviously he's done a great job on offense, and he's always done a great job in the kicking game. So just looking for him to keep growing and excited about his development phase.
I'm sure you're always excited at the beginning of an NFL season, but is there a little bit more juice going into the season considering the roster improvements and the new rules that you're going to get to put on display?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning of every season, like everyone's excited. And I'm definitely excited for the new kickoff rule to see how that's going to be orchestrated across the league. You know, a lot of time and effort was put into that, so I'm excited to see how that plays out for our players and for the fans when they put it on display. I mean, a lot of efforts went into making that a play that people, would watch. So I'm really excited to see how that would play out.
Will Valus getting more of a look at running back make him a better kick returner? I don't know if there's a correlation, but the way that you see it, like, will that, what he's doing on offense now, and the role change help him in what you ask him to do on special teams?
I think it all helps. I think anytime you have a ball in your hand and you get a chance to make cuts and read blockers and read blocks and set things up, I think it's all intertwined, and it'll help tremendously, I think.
Given that it's the first game of the season and some guys are doing this for the very first time, do you have a special message because the adrenaline's going, maybe even the nerves are going on the first kick of the game or those moments, do you talk to you guys about like just settling into what they've been practicing for so long?
Yeah, I just, of course, we talked to them about that, and then we just talked to them about, staying present, being in the moment, staying present, and then putting something on tape you can be proud of. Just, go out there. You don't have to do anything more, anything less. Depend on the man next to you, and go out there and put something on tape you can be proud of.
There's a lot of hype with Torrey Taylor coming into even the draft, and when he got picked fourth, a lot of expectations. He never really backed down from those. What have you seen from him since he started with the Bears and going into his rookie season here?
I've seen growth for sure, but the one thing that you can't coach or teach, it really comes from his parents, is a relentless mindset. Like, he's relentless, he's competitive, and he really wants to be great. And you can push that as a coach, and we all push that, and we all talk about competitive greatness. But it's something about this kid that's within, and when you get a chance to work with guys like that, it makes it really fun. So I'm looking forward to his growth process, and I'm looking forward to him competing and playing as Soldier in front of our fans for the first home opener. I'm excited to see that kid play.
Richard, what's the process been over the past week with Scott, and how do you do that as a coordinator? I know you've been with dealt with this before, but what is it like to go through with the long snapper game used to punter and kicker?
Yeah, I mean, they're doing it's like I said before, it's always extremely challenging when you switch any piece of any part of anything you're doing in an operation. But I think those guys have done a heck of a job working together, building that bond, building that chemistry together. And, when it comes to field goal, it's really four parts of it that have to be working together. And that's snap, hold, and kick. And then obviously the protection. So those things have been good, and then also in punt as well. So he's gelling in well, and he's a really good guy. Scott's a really good guy, and he's a really good teammate with these guys. And it couldn't have been a better a fit as far as the personalities are concerned right now. So we've been excited about that.
We talk all the time about Soldier Field being a tough place for Cairo, that there's all these things that he has had to gain expertise on. How much does that come into play for a punter? How much does that come into play for Torrey? What things does he need to have a good handle on as far as this specific venue?
Yeah, I think, playing in Soldier is one of the toughest places to play. And the great thing about it is that both teams have to deal with it. So I think he's just got to continue to do what he's been doing and go out there and get a good feel in pregame like you do. Both teams do that, and then go out there and just play your game. Like on Sunday is for the players. It's for those guys to let hair down, let loose, and go play. And play worry-free and just go play football. And then obviously Monday through Saturday, we coaching the heck out of them. We own them like we're supposed to do, pushing them to be as great as we can push them. But on Sunday, it's time for those guys to let loose and go play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex,